Going on, Falcon fan? This Sport Condo coming back at you with another video. As you can see, the Atlanta Falcons have finalized their coaching staff for the 2025 season, adding in defensive line coach Nate Ollie and Mike Rutenburg as the pass game coordinator, defensive pass game coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. We definitely gonna get into that today and give my thoughts on it and what that means for the Atlanta Falcons now for the rest of the offseason and to kick this thing off. So, guys, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notification bell so you know I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys like here to talk about. And please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come here and talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, as reported today, the Atlanta Falcons have finalized their coaching staff. Right, we know last Saturday the Atlanta Falcons hired coach Jeff Ulbrich to come in and be the defensive coordinator. We knew they had already fired the Jay Rogers as the defensive line coach, so they had to replace the defensive line coach as well, and they did that by bringing in Nate Ollie. Um, he was the assistant defensive line coach for the Houston Texans. And you guys saw how well the Houston Texans played here in 2024. They only gave up 11 rushing touchdowns in the entire season. They was fourth in sacks with 49, and they had the 11th best run defense. So he had his stamp on that defense for the Houston Texans. So I think it's a really good signing. It would have been nice for the Jeff Ulbrich to go get his D-line coach from the New York Jets, but to get Nate Ollie is really still a good a good signing, because if you look at what Nate Ollie was doing, now that was in 2024. Before that, he spent 2 years with the Indianapolis Colts, and during that time, if you look at 2022, 51 sacks. That was fifth best in the league at the time, right? So he was really able to get the defensive line going. He was the actually defensive line coach with the Indianapolis Colts during that time for those 2 seasons. So you gotta like what you was able to see. One season 51 sacks, another season 44 sacks. So he was able to get the best he can out of the Indianapolis Colts. And if you go look at those defensive line, there wasn't no like all pro guys there like a TJ Watt or somebody like that that's going to garner double teams and things like that. So to be able to get that kind of performance and that kind of ability out of those guys is really good. So that's what we're trying to get. We're going to have a young defensive line. We got 2 older guys on there. It's going to be yet to be seen what they're going to do with David Amiata and Grady Jarrett. But for the most part, Atlanta Falcons is going to have a young defensive line. So you're going to need somebody to help develop those guys, to get those guys to play up to their potential, right? You got Zach Harrison coming into year 3. You got Rook Rororo and Brandon Dorlers, both of those guys coming into into their second year, and you want to see that 1 year to 2 year jump from both of those guys. Now, like I said, yet to be seen what Grady and David Amiata future is going to be. Taquan Graham, he's already a free agent, along with a host of other defensive linemen that we had on that line. So bringing in Nate Ollie, I think, going to be good. Now, the ties he got with Jeff Ulbrich, he was the assistant defensive line coach with the Jets in 2021. So that's how you get the ties. And everybody's going to get wrapped up about, bring your friends in and things like that. And I get it. And I felt the same way about the whole situation. But when you boil it down and talk about bringing in, you're going to bring in people you're familiar with. If you go look at what Bill Belichick did most of his 20 years, most of the guys that he had as his coaches, his coordinators and things like that, it was guys that he knew what they was going to bring, right? I mean, he brought those guys back. They go out, get a head coaching job. They don't do well there. He'll bring them back in and be put them back on his staff, because he was familiar with those guys and he knew he was going to get from the guys. He trusted those guys. So at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen most time. A lot of times you develop relationships and you be like, you tell a guy, if I ever go get a head coaching job, I'm going to hire you, right? And you build that rapport that way as well. So I understand Raheem Morris going out to get Jeff Ulbrich. Nobody should be surprised by that because it just he stayed in his comfort zone. He's going to have his comfortability. And then like Nate Ollie, he worked under Jeff Ulbrich in 2021. So it kind of explains that that chemistry, somebody that you bring in, somebody you can trust. But then you got to look at the track record, right? Were they productive, where they were, and if you look at Nate Ali and his last two stops, um, before after he left the Jets, he were productive. He also worked with the Eagles in 2019 to 2020. So he had all these was on the defensive line, guys. So he actually had a lot of experience working with defensive linemen. So we want him to be able to bring that experience and working with different guys. He worked with the Jets, with the Eagles, with the Texans, and with the Colts, and bring that experience and pour it into our young defensive linemen that we have, right? Maybe he can teach some of the older guys, something as well. If they retain those guys, so we're definitely going to be looking out for that. But we want to be able to fix this defensive line. That's what it's going to boil down to. That's what we got to do, right? So Nate Ali is going to be our defensive line coach to go along up on the Jeff Ulbrich defense. The next hire, right? It was Mike Rutenburg. Now he was with Jeff Ulbrich the whole time Jeff Ulbrich was in New York, right? So he was the linebackers coach, for the New York Jets during that time. Guys like Quincy Williams, guys like C.J. Mosley. We know what kind of linebacker those guys were, right? So we know he has that experience of working with linebackers. He can definitely provide some kind of experience to our linebacker core, right? Our linebacker core, I believe, is kind of in flux right now. We know what we're getting out of Caden Ellis, right? We got Troy Anderson, who can't stay healthy, but got so much potential there. You got Nate Lamon, who's a free agent this year, restricted free agent, so they potentially might bring him back. And then you look at JD Bertrand, another guy that's, we hope we see a jump from him from year one to year two. So they're going to evaluate those guys in the linebacker room and see if they can keep those guys. They got to bring some talent in. Like I said, what kind of linebackers that Rutenburg was working with in New York with Quincy Williams and C.J. Mosley. So, he might want to see an upgrade there, right? It depends on what kind of defense they want to run. I think you got a guy like Troy Anderson can run sideline to sideline, should be really, really good in coverage. We just haven't seen it enough on tape because of injury history. So, but bringing him in as a pass game defensive coordinator as well, it's really going to be valuable. Now we already got great, defensive back coach, in our back end, but bringing in another ear, to that defensive staff is going to be good. When I look at all the defensive, coaches that Raheem is bringing in, right, it goes back to what he wanted to be when he first came to the Atlanta Falcons. He wanted to be the overseer, right? He wanted to be the CEO. He wanted to be the guy that was going to be the seer over everything, special teams, offense, and defense. And he wanted to put the trust into his staff to do their thing, right? Yes, he wanted to hear the game plans and things like that. Give his input where he thumbs up or thumbs down, right? But at the end of the day, he wanted those guys to run their units, and he can sit back and run the whole team. So that's why he brought in a Jeff Ulbrich, somebody that he trusts, that he believes can run his system and be able to get the best out of the players, right? So Mark Rutenburg was with the Jets since the whole time Robert Saleh was there, and Jeff Ulbrich was the defensive coordinator. In 2020, Rutenburg was with the San Francisco 49ers as the passing game specialist, right? So he does have experience in the title that he's going to be assuming in Atlanta, which is good. At that time in 2020, the San Francisco 49ers was fourth in pass defense. So he can see what it was like to have a really good pass defense from the 49ers, which ties directly to the defensive front and the secondary, right? But we're going to be able to see what he can bring that. And then before that, he was with Jacksonville from 2013 to 2019, where he was a DB coach, a defensive assistant, and a linebacker coach. So vast experience from Rutenburg coming in, adding to that defensive unit with Jeff Ulbrich. Now you have Nate Ollie, you got Mike Rutenburg added to additions to the other guys we already got on that defensive side of the ball. So guys, there you have it. We got our defensive guys. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see what they do now going off season. Now these guys coming in, Nate Ollie, his first mission, if he have not already, start to get on the tape and start looking at the guys on the team and see, what he can do, how he can help develop these guys to get them over that hump, where we can start getting those sacks that he was able to produce when he was with the Indianapolis Colts. 44 and 51 sacks. Um, you know, being able to have 49 sacks with the Houston Texans. That's what we want to be able to produce with the Atlanta Falcons. Sacks are not the end all be all. To me, we already talked about this. If you go back to my videos I already posted, it's more about pressures, getting the quarterback out of the spot. But when you get sacks, that's usually loss of yards, right? Opportunity to get the ball out, right? And usually it wreck drives all the way. So that's what you want to end up doing. But if he can bring that kind of, the trait that he was able to instill into the players that he had in those his other stops, that's what we want to see, right? And then just bringing in another guy like Mike Rutenburg, somebody that can really help with the linebacker core and help with the passing game on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be huge. That's going to be huge. But at the end of the day, it always boils down to the personnel. That's what it's going to boil down to. This right here is all about Terry Fontenot being able to go out and bring in the right players to be able to let Jeff Ulbrich and his staff do the things that they want to do for the defense can be successful. That's what it's going to boil down to. Got a lot of decisions made. I think they did an excellent job. Coming into the Falcons organization when the Falcons cap was already really, really bad, to fixing it to right now where you're gonna have some restraints, but that's when you got to get creative, with your staff, with your personnel, your players, and things like that. Or restructures, all right, releases, all that stuff is going to have to factor in, and extensions, all that stuff going to factor in, and then bringing in the right free agents to go along with the talent you already got on the team. So Terry Fontenot, at this point, the thing is definitely in his court, right? He's going to collaborate with the coaching staff 100%, but it's all on him because he got to play with the numbers now. It's all about money. It's a business. It's not impossible to be able to improve this roster. We see it all the time around the league. So, saying that you're cap strapped and things like that, you have to think about the future because you do have some young talent that's coming up on contracts. Guys like Drake London, right? A couple of years, B. John Robinson. So you gotta be able to manage your cap so you can sign your studs moving forward. But I believe that Atlanta Falcons can make enough moves this year to make this defense just to equal to what our offense potentially on that side of the ball. So that's what we need from Terry Fontenot. The coaching staff is final. Now everybody can get in the lab, which I'm pretty sure they already started already, but you can get these guys and tied into, the defensive line, the linebackers, and try to figure out what the Atlanta Falcons can do from a roster standpoint to make this defense better. So, guys, let me know your thoughts on these two hires. Finishing up the coaching staff for Raheem Morris for 2025. Just like you said, never be the same. 2026 probably won't be the same either. So that's the way it is. But bringing these new guys in my estimation, I like both hires. At the end of the day, it's about the roster. That's what we got to get done. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.